مرحبا وأهلا بكم في برنامج داخل واشنطن. معكم مضيفكم روبرت ساتلوف. الصورة: إن كانت هناك كلمة واحدة تلخص التغيرات التي نواجهها في عالمنا اليوم فهي الصورة. أحيانا يكون هذا أمرا إيجابيا جدا، كما هو الحال مع سرعة الاتصالات أو سرعة وسائل النقل، وأحيانا رغم ذلك يكون هذا أمرا سلبيا جدا، كما هو الحال مع سرعة الأسلحة أو الأسوأ على الإطلاق سرعة التغير المناخي. كثير من هذه القضايا لم تكن حتى مطروحة ضمن الأجندة قبل 10 أعوام حين بدأنا برنامج داخل واشنطن، ولكنها لعبت جميعا دورا في الأحداث التاريخية منذ ذلك الوقت، بداية من عمل العربية العربي وصولا إلى أحوال سوريا اليوم. كان لهذه التوجهات أثر بالغ على سياسات الشرق الأوسط وعلى طريقة تعاطي أمريكا مع العالم. بعد الأعوام العشرة الأخيرة ليس من السهل توقع ما ستشلبه الأعوام العشرة القادمة، ولكن هناك أمر واحد مؤكد: أن الأحداث ستقع سريعا. لو كان هناك من فكر في هذه الأسئلة الكبيرة وكيف تؤثر على العالم الذي نعيش فيه وما يمكن للحكومة فعله بهذا الشأن، فإنه ضيفي. كان أول ضيف لي في برنامج داخل واشنطن قبل 10 أعوام، وتسعدني عودته لنبدأ ثاني 10 أعوام لنا اليوم. إنه توماس فريدمان، الصحفي في نيويورك تايمز. Welcome back to Dakhel, Washington. We're sitting here with our first and our almost 500th guest, Tom Friedman, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Dakhel, Washington. So Tom, what is the most serious security challenge facing America as we are now in the middle of the second decade of the 21st century?
I think the most serious security problem facing the United States of America, Rob, is our political paralysis at home. I'm a old-time and proud American nationalist in the sense that I believe we do some really stupid stuff around the world. We make our share of mistakes, and we should, when we do, fix them and own up to them. But more often than not, in more places than not, America has been a huge provider of global public goods, a source of economic stability, a source of military stability, whether it's patrolling the sea lanes in the Pacific or helping refugees in Haiti, or maybe wrongly trying to promote democracy, or maybe failing to do so in the Arab world. But we clearly, I believe, are a source of stability for the world. And if America goes weak, your kids won't just grow up in a different America. They will grow up in a fundamentally different world. A world ordered by Putin, by China, or more likely, Rob, by nobody at all. And so what I'm most focused on when I think of the strategic threats to America, it's the fact that our Congress has become completely dysfunctional and a forum for legalized bribery. And as a result...
You have to explain what you mean.
The fact that political donations can buy anyone, anywhere, both parties. And as a result, we can no longer do big, hard things together. We can only do small things, small compromise, usually cobbled together at midnight with no due diligence. And the big things we try to do together, whether it's healthcare or the deal with Iran, are now done entirely by one party leveraging its minority, not working together. And therefore, almost all these deals as a result, Rob, are suboptimal, less than optimal. How long do we remain the great power we can be, should be, and are capable of being must be, when every big decision we make now is suboptimal, less than optimal.
Now, you travel around the world. Is this concern about the nature of American politics and our ability to solve problems and project strength, is this equally shared by the people you speak with?
Well, obviously we have our opponents, there's no question, but I've always believed that American optimism, people love to make fun of America. You Americans, you think every problem has a solution. You're so naive, But deep down, Rob, they envy our optimism. They envy our naivete in the very best, because they live in pessimistic societies or contexts, situations that don't allow it. And therefore, when we go pessimistic, which we did after 9/11, when we go dark, when we do the full Dick Cheney, the world becomes a different place. And that's why Obama's election, I think, was such a global event. They saw it as America coming back after 9/11 to its roots and to its exceptionalism. But we have too many people in America today who think American exceptionalism is like an honorary degree you get from the university. I got my honorary degree, I'm exceptional, and I put it on the wall and it stays there forever. No, American exceptionalism has to be earned and re-earned every day, every week, every year, by every generation. And we have too many people who want to look in the mirror and say, I'm exceptional.
So what's the Tom Friedman plan for fixing the broken American political system?
Well, my plan is the same plan that every Arab viewer here should want for their country. That I believe America's strength was built on 5 principles, Rob, that every American president, good president, great president, enriched and expanded. One is that we have the best rule of law in the world, the best rules and regulations to incentivize risk-taking and prevent recklessness. Second, we have the best infrastructure in the world. We build the best roads and airports and ports and telecommunications to inspire our entrepreneurs. Third, we have the most open immigration policy, the most pluralism in the world, where we're able to attract both the lower skilled but high energy people out there and the high IQ risk takers. I have a motto: anyone in Haiti who can build a boat from milk cartons and sail to our shores, I want you as my neighbor, okay? Fourth, we have the most government-funded research to promote science and technology. What was the fifth? I can't remember the fifth right now, but I'll think of it. But that we get back to these great pillars that made us the country that we are today.
So some things are working well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're growing at like 2% now, but we're not at 4 or 5 that we could be if we actually got back to our basics, our fundamentals that made this such a great country. And those are the things every country should want to focus on.
I mean, the world is watching our election campaign, and so far they see this oversized image of Donald Trump. Are there politicians out in America who you look to and say, this is the alternative, they're really smart, creative, innovative, and we can use them to do a lot better?
There are politicians and non-politicians. There are business people and social entrepreneurs that you would love to see run for president. But the public space has become so poisonous. The amount of money you have to raise, over $1 billion. Therefore, the people you have to sell yourself to now is so big. And the media has gotten so fractured that anything you say, you'll be lit up on Twitter or Facebook. There are not a lot of people who want to put themselves through that. It takes a very unique, personality to do that, and it produces deformed people as well. And I think that Mr. Trump is one of those.
Now, you mentioned earlier America's remarkable inclination to welcome people from around the world. So I want to ask you about America and the Syrian refugee crisis. Yes. To what extent do you think at all America bears responsibility for this collapse of a country? And what do you think we should do about it?
I think we have zero responsibility for it. I feel differently about Libya and Iraq, but Syria, we didn't start this. If anything, Obama was rather tepid, toward the whole thing. But I think we should be looking at this, if one just looks at it not even from a morality point of view, which one should, but just from a strategic point of view. The idea of a whole country of how many people live in Syria? Close to 20 million? I mean, that
Used to,
yeah. I mean, but then millions of people from just one country would want to leave it and flock to Europe. That is something that could really weaken Europe. So from a strategic point of view, we have to take this seriously. And from a moral point of view, I think we should be taking some Syrian refugees. There's no question in my mind. But ultimately, what we need to do is work with the regional powers to try to reconstruct this place. And unfortunately, Rob, this has been my view about Syria from the beginning. You either build a wall or you completely reoccupy the country, okay, for 50 years. But the middle ground, no-fly zone, I train these guys, whatever, it's not going to work. And that's why I've never signed up for any of them. Obama didn't either, but he tried one just because he felt under so much pressure. I have to admit, there is a phrase from the Cold War, sometimes the necessary is impossible. So people look at a tragedy like Syria and they say, well, it's your fault because you're not doing something. Well, sometimes the thing you have to do is now so big and so hard that it certainly cannot be done individually, it can only be done collectively. My view of what's going on there is that 60 years ago, Asian dictators came to their people and said this, my people, here's the deal. We're taking away your freedom, but we're going to give you the best infrastructure, the best education, and the best export-led economics that money can buy. And by the way, that was the fifth thing for America. Educate your people up to and beyond whatever the technology is. They said, we're going to give you all these tools to succeed, and 60 years from now, you'll build a middle class big enough to take your freedom back. 60 years ago, when Egypt had a bigger economy than South Korea, Arab dictators came to their people and said, my people, here's the deal. We're going to take away your freedom and we're going to give you the Arab-Israeli conflict. We're going to give you a shiny object over here to distract you from our corruption, our stealing, and our human rights abuses. So 60 years later now, South Korea has an economy that's multiple times bigger than the entire Arab world combined. And the Arab world is in complete disorder. So we're seeing the harvest of 60 years, and answering that problem and digging out of that hole is not an easy thing.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to think about the next 10 years. And we're going to try to write down some predictions from somebody who got the last 10 years pretty darn right. Thomas L. Friedman is almost certainly the world's most influential journalist. He doesn't just report the news, his words make the news. He's been awarded the Pulitzer Prize 3 times for his work with the New York Times, where he serves as the foreign affairs columnist with a license to roam the globe and offer insights and observations on just about anything. His career has included tours as the Times correspondent in Beirut and Jerusalem, as well as its diplomatic, business, and White House correspondent. Over the decades, he has covered wars and disasters, peace deals and presidents, and some of the greatest innovators and their inventions in history. He's a best-selling author multiple times over, with works that have brought the horrors of war and the wonders of globalization directly to the bedside tables of the great and not so great around the world. A native of the truly great state of Minnesota in America's Midwest, he received degrees from Brandeis University and the University of Oxford. When he isn't traveling or playing golf, he lives in Bethesda, Maryland with his wife. Tom, among the many things that you have focused on is, of course, the environment, climate change. And years ago, you were a prophet about carbon, the need for a carbon tax. We're coming up against a time when the price of oil is dropping like a lead balloon. And the idea of people getting off oil is less likely to take hold today than ever before. What do we do in this environment? when the speed of climate change is hitting the reality of the energy market?
We pray for Moore's Law, okay? That is, we pray for the speed and power of microchips and technology to keep doubling. Because here's the good news, Rob. If you look at the energy market today, subsidized solar energy today is exactly the same price as natural gas. And that's why you're seeing all these utilities now starting to convert over to solar. And that's, if about 5 more years of solar subsidies, there's a question because they come off next year, I think we'll really push this over the top. Even solar unsubsidized is getting closer. Now let's look at the price of oil. Saudi Arabia decided they were going to bring down the oil price because they were tired of North Dakota and America using technology to start to compete with them. So they brought it down to, I don't know, $80. North Dakota got competitive at $80. Then they brought it to 70. They got competitive at 70. Then they brought it to 60. They got competitive at 60. Then they brought it to 50. They got competitive at 50. So then they brought it to 40. They're now finding ways to be competitive at $40. That's technology and innovation at work. And so for the first time now, we have a critical mass of that you bring the price of oil down, and technology now can actually, because it's getting doubling in power all the time, can actually compete.
So you're optimistic about that?
I'm still quite optimistic. And by the way, Rob, you know, we all have cell phones, and you have an Apple one or a Google one, you know. So people don't realize Google and Apple, they're now energy companies. Google bought Nest, which is the biggest home energy management system in the world. And Apple has a home energy management system, so I watch my daughter sit in Colorado and turn down the air conditioning in her house in Washington, D.C. on her iPhone. Who out there wants to compete with Google and Apple? Raise your hand, okay? Saudi Arabia and Russia, they're now competing with Google and Apple because energy efficiency is just oil not consumed.
So in this race, you think that this one, the human race, might actually win?
I think there's a chance if we're smart. And when I look at Putin, and when I look at other people betting on oil, like Khamenei, the leader of Iran, I say, gentlemen, you are betting against Mother Nature, human nature, and Moore's Law all at the same time. You're betting that technology, Moore's Law, can't outpace your oil price. You're betting on a natural resource that if we keep exploiting it, if we don't keep it in the ground, Mother Nature is going to blow you away. And always remember, Rob, Mother Nature, she's just chemistry, biology, and physics. That's all she is. You can't talk her up, you can't talk her down. You can't say, Mother Nature, our population doubled, we need all this oil price. Mother Nature is going to do whatever chemistry, biology, and physics dictate. And Mother Nature, to put it in American baseball terms, she always bats last, and she always bats 1,000. Do not mess with Mother Nature. That's what they're doing, and they're betting against human nature. They're saying their people would rather live under some crazy, religious theology or some crazy Russian, historical czarist idea and not be part of the free world, breathe free air, and live their lives as free people. They're betting against Mother Nature, human nature, and Moore's Law all at the same time. They are going to lose. Mark that down. On your 20th anniversary, we will revisit that.
Well, let's bring that observation together with our previous discussion about order and disorder. Can we, as the United States, can we Americans prosper in a world in which we embrace all the things you said we should be embracing, and parts of the world are still living in such disorder and such olive tree focused societies that they export their insecurity to us?
Well, it's really the $64,000 question. One thing I don't know if you remember the BP oil spill. Remember BP oil, the oil spill, and with the CNN had a camera down there, and we watched that oil belching out into the ocean. And Tony Hayward, the then CEO of BP, said something. It was incredibly controversial at the time. He got hammered for it, and it turned out to be true. People looked at that oil going in the ocean, and he said, it's a big ocean. Okay, and it turned out to be a big ocean. It's a big world. And it's amazing the ability of the world to adjust to regions of disorder. You know, the fact is, though, we've never seen it on the scale that it's heading to. And that, to me, is why your question is very relevant. I don't know where the tipping point is, where the red line is, where the disorder of the Middle East starts to affect the economy of Europe, starts to affect the market for Apple telephones. You know what I mean? Making those connections. But we're going to test those limits in the next 10 years, I believe.
Okay. Tom Friedman, thank you so much
Pleasure.
for being with us now to celebrate our 10th anniversary. And let's put our date on the calendar,
right.
10 years
10
from
years.
now.
I want to be here.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Thank you
my
very
pleasure.
much. بهذا نصل إلى نهاية هذه الحلقة من برنامج داخل واشنطن. إذا كانت لديكم أي استفسارات أو تعليقات حول هذه الحلقة، وخاصة حول كيف سيكون شكل العالم بعد 10 أعوام من الآن، أرجو أن تراسلوني مباشرة على عنوان البريد الإلكتروني التالي insidewashington@alhurra.com. معكم روبرت ساتلوف. شكرا لكم وإلى اللقاء.